Welcome to Schmoeville. Today, Christian Harloff, more like Christian Goes Off, found out why Christian got red-faced over some trolls. Also, surprise guest galore on the Schmoes Know Show, and Makuga tragically debuts Batman vs. Supermans. But first, I have my co-host, Paul Wulff, here with me. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's kind of early for me, though. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep either, but I'm feeling okay. I got my coffee.
Good. And congratulations for Kentucky winning yesterday pretty well, pretty handily. So it was pretty cool. I got to see a little bit of that before I went to bed myself.
Yeah, but it was kind of a boring game.
First round matches usually are.
They were both equally terrible in the first half. I mean, I agree. We were separating ourselves, and I was kind of worried, but like even during the regular season, Kentucky is always like a second half team. They always make the adjustments. Well, I mean, I guess this is the year that we've lost, I think, 8 games. But usually, UK always has to make the adjustments at halftime, and then we just end up beating them by 20. That's sort of the pattern, especially outside of the SEC. But anyway, This isn't basketball talk. This isn't movie talk. This is the Schmoeville podcast, and I'm so happy that people are here with us today, and I'm also really happy that we put up our episode yesterday. We're since we've known each other, we're 2 for 2 on podcasts versus the days that we've known each other. So not bad.
Yeah, good. Batting 1,000.
So tell me a little bit what you thought, and I don't want to go too long on this, but I sort of want to hear your thoughts on our podcast yesterday and maybe some of the reaction. Schmoeville, I want to be very candid on this podcast, so I want to create conversation, and I feel like we kind of did yesterday, but that's also why I'm talking about it today. So tell me a little bit of what you thought from that.
Well, I don't think I talked enough about myself, so I wanted to go back to May 24th, 1979. It was a very cold day for some reason. It was not very seasonably weather, and my mom has
Paul, wait.
I'm so kidding, guys. That was the criticism we got. We did talk about ourselves a little bit more than we should have. And you know what? Hey, it was our very first one, and we wanted you guys to know a little bit more about us. And so hopefully you did. And I actually got, to be honest, a couple new Twitter followers because of it. And I had a lot more views on my math YouTube channel. So I was pleased with the response. I did like the criticism. And you know what? Hey, that's what I always tell my students when I have my sessions is, this is yours. Tell me what you want. That line from Jerry Maguire, help me help you. And so I enjoyed that, and I listened back, on in the evening yesterday, and we did. We're hopefully working out the kinks today. We had some good feedback, even from Christian himself, and I think I got a little ESP going on because I had sent you the show notes and kind of had what he thought already down. So hopefully today will be running a little more smoothly, and we won't really talk too much about ourselves. But what did you think?
I thought the criticism was absolutely fair.
Yes.
And I am not only do I do podcasts, I listen to podcasts. So I also get a feel for, what I think certain people, do for too long on their show. And I mean, it's absolutely acceptable criticism. I think the main problem was just that we didn't really get the point across, I guess. So I felt like, and I said this in a post yesterday, I feel like that was sort of our audition, because if we had put ourselves out there and they didn't respond to us or they didn't like us, then I don't know how I would feel continuing, because I feel like we represent Schmoeville in a way by doing this. So, if the people spoke and they were just like, hey, we're not feeling this, then, I would be open to listening to that. So that's I felt like that was just us putting ourselves out there. And not a direct reflection of what Schmoeville is going to be. This episode will absolutely be a reflection of what's to come. That doesn't mean we still have kinks to work out. I mean, it might take time. Me and Paul are still strangers. We also kind of like put all this together super quickly, right? we kind of had to get stuff going because, you know, they're doing what I think is one of the biggest things, which is the movie trivia Schmoedown next week. So we kind of had to jumpstart ourselves and get on board so that we could be talking about that, because that's a good chunk that we can't afford to miss out on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of feel like these first couple episodes is almost like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1, you know, not really watchable. That's in my opinion, not really watchable. Kind of like, okay, this is what we're getting. And then season 2 getting a little better, adding a little few more elements from the movies and, you know, things like that. Now we're not at season 3 yet, where we're finally getting, you know, some Inhumans and some actual like watchable action and drama and getting the feel for these characters. So we're on our way. It'll take some time, you guys.
For sure. I feel like that's all I got on that issue. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Not at all.
I do want to say I appreciate everyone listening to that yesterday. It's still there. If you're listening to this episode and haven't heard what we're talking about, we posted it in the Facebook group. Episode 0 is what I call it, Schmoeville Origins. So there's that. Do you want to get right into our show here?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay. I do want to preface this by saying I was not able to watch Jedi Council. Did you watch it?
I will later today. I did not catch it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, my entire weekend is like action packed, and I was barely able to fit in movie talk. And even the Schmoes Know Show, I was up until 4 a.m. working on all this stuff. So,
nice.
but that's okay. I do it for the Schmoeville, and I do it for Paul. What is first on the board? Okay, Scott Mantz came out. I love Scott Mantz, and I guess we'll talk more about this when we discuss. Did I skip ahead?
You might have skipped ahead. There was an opening. That's okay. There was an opening segment. Christian, Mark, Sasha all kind of introduced what was going to happen on the show, and the first real segment was Scott coming out to Christian's phenomenal and hopefully continuous impression of him. I'm for it. So Scott maybe needs to get over it, because what do they usually say? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and he even mentioned that too. You know, he's doing it out of love, and it's not to make fun of him. So that's what started the show, was Scott coming out, and he kind of talked about his first experience with South by Southwest, which is kind of cool. I've not really heard it. The only person that I really had heard that from was Tiffany Smith talking about that, and he even mentioned that too. Scott said that it wasn't really as well known of a film festival as like Sundance or the other things that we have going on, and so he kind of talked about his experience there, and it was really kind of cool. I thought anyway. Had you hadn't heard anything differently about that, or what did you think of when he was kind of talking about the South by Southwest experience?
For one, I think the South by is just kind of a less snobby, or maybe snobby is not the word. Maybe just like a less artsy type of film festival. Kind
of laid back, more for the fans, I think.
Right. I am dying to go. I've never been. My cousin is actually there right now, and he sent me dozens of snaps. He's more so into the music side of it. So I tried to get him to go see Midnight Special and then that big Force Awakens documentary that's premiering. But he hasn't done that. But I was really intrigued by all the movies that Mantz was talking about. Absent was Suicide Squad, because I had big question marks over that, because I'm so ready to hear the buzz around that.
But he saw, what did he see? He saw Keanu, the Bandit, the Tower, Everybody Wants Some, Hardcore Henry, and the Greasy Strangler, which was interesting. He called that Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and more like a John Waters film. He mostly saw documentaries, which was interesting to see that as well. He had a great story about the Bandit with the Smoking the Bandit documentary, which Brett Sheridan broke in and said he actually seen Smoking the Bandit, which, hey, good up for him. I have a suggestion for him later on once we get to that segment, but this is just me being a father of 3 and married. So I have a suggestion for him if he is listening later on. So stay tuned. There you go. There's a hook for you. But overall, to kind of wrap up this section here, Scott did this all on his own dime. Access Hollywood did not give him. I don't know if he didn't get any money towards it, but he went on his own accord just to check it out. And I thought that was pretty cool. He didn't do any interviews. He said he saw 15 movies over 5 days, and this was all on him. And I just think that just shows his passion for the industry. All right, let's see. We had okay, so Brett Sheridan was brought in, and he reviewed what people were asking him to watch was Interstellar, and I thought that was hilarious. Where he's like,
of all the movies, you're gonna give him like a daunting watch, because I don't know, like, we kind of knew what we were getting into with the trailers, and we know that it was, at the time, well, I guess it still is, Christopher Nolan's longest film. I don't think he knew that. I don't know if he knew that, I guess, but that's a daunting thing for that to be the movie that is supposed to build a habit of watching movies.
Right.
So, yeah. And as more time goes on, I feel like people are just kind of meh about this movie. And I'm kind of surprised, because I've watched it twice now. The second time, I actually enjoyed it more than the first. It's a very strange movie like that. I mean, usually it's Christopher Nolan isn't so divisive, but Interstellar is different for some reason.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too, and I kind of felt for Brett in a way, because again, having 3 children, being married, sitting down to watch a movie could get very difficult. And his adventure of Friday night, I couldn't find it on Netflix. I had to buy it on Vudu. I went to 2 different Red Boxes and couldn't find it, so I just gave up and watched Mystic Pizza. I'm like, okay, cool, all right. And he said, he cried. That's kind of how it happens sometimes, where you go through Netflix, you have an idea of what to see, and you see something else, and you watch something else instead. And I've had that happen. I really have. And his take on Interstellar, he fell asleep after 25 minutes. And I can relate myself, and it's not because of the quality of the movie, but it was the situation at the time. It took me 3 times to get through The Usual Suspects, because I was so damn tired when I got to finally watching it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. Fell asleep. I'm gonna watch it. Fell asleep. So I finally, at the 3rd time, I'm like, I'm gonna watch. Oh my god, this is the greatest movie ever. Kind of a thing. So I can relate, definitely. And I kind of also agreed with Brett's review with the 2.5 out of 5 schmoes. I would give it a little higher, but I kind of agree with it. Like you said, it was divisive, and it kind of, it's lengthy, and you really have to think about it. And I like those, and I do like Christopher Nolan's style with not revealing too much in the trailer, going back to the old school, not giving away too much.
Sure.
Like my least favorite situation would be Castaway. The trailer for that gave everything away. So I sat there going, what was the point of watching the movie? I just saw everything in the trailer. So I like the secrecy, and just like what J.J. Abrams has done with The Force Awakens, did a great job doing that. So so that was there. And so what came across the what we had said in the show notes earlier.
Oh, hold on. I want to get to that. Let's do this.
Go for it. Yeah, you want to go for it? Go for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, first, Brett, if you're listening to this, and also this is for Schmoeville, if you need to find out where something is, like a movie, if you need to know, hey, is this going to be at Redbox? Yeah, you can go to redbox.com, but it's a lot easier to go to wheretowatch.org. It's a host that was actually made by the MPAA. You can just go there, type in any movie, and if it's a new release, or well, I guess a new release in theaters, I should say, it'll tell you what theaters it's at. Of course, you can get that at Fandango or whatever. But what I like is that it also tells you if it's available streaming, and then exactly where. So if something is on Netflix, it'll tell you it's on Netflix, and it'll also tell you that it's on Vudu and give you the price range. So usually, if it's a movie like one of those, any of those movies that Mance named, that are probably going to be hard to find in theaters where I'm from, I can go to wheretowatch.org. And I hate that this sounds like an endorsement. It's really not, but it really is helpful.
Hey, we need sponsors.
I don't know if I want the MPAA sponsoring it.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, go to that website. You can type in anything, and it'll tell you where it is. So yeah, there's that for you,
Yep.
Brett.
And let me piggyback on that too, Brett. I'm sorry, this is an intervention for Brett here. Being in the same situation for you, buddy. I ask all the time for, if you celebrate Easter, Christmas, any holiday that gifts are exchanged, birthdays, all of that. I always ask for movie gift cards. Okay, so I don't have to pay for it. It's just a gift card, $20 here, $50 there, and so I build those up throughout the year. And then what I normally do is I go to the midnight showings for most of them. The most of them that I do go to are the superhero popcorn flicks, but on occasion I do check out like an Ex Machina or things like that, or Oscar-worthy films. So if not the midnight showing, obviously check out, if you have, obviously if you've got a babysitter, you can have them go out and then you can go see the movie then. But that's usually what I do. So that might be a suggestion so you can get out and see more, so you can be in the conversation for the next Schmoes Know shows.
Paul, I've got one thing to say to you.
Yeah.
Shut your ass! Shut your fucking ass! That's an exact quote from Christian Harloff. That came out of nowhere when after the Interstellar stuff, that came out of nowhere. And it's funny because I had to watch this in pieces because that was what was on, I think, during UK's halftime. So when UK was in halftime, I switched over and that's where it was in the stream. And I just instantly got that. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And apparently some people pissed off, or maybe it was one person. I wasn't in the live chat. Somebody was really pissing him off.
Yeah, it had to do with the fact that the title of the episode was Batman versus Superman discussion, and it was 45 minutes into the show, and we hadn't gotten to it yet. Well, they didn't get to it yet because they had other things to go through first to get to it. Usually the main event in any situation is always towards the end anyway, and so that's actually where it was, towards the end. So the troll got on Christian's nerves, and that's what came out, and I have a feeling they are printing the shirts right now.
I hope so, because I'm definitely going to be a customer. What I'll say to defend Christian, well, I don't think I could ever defend that troll. So, but to sort of back up Christian, and, I kind of want to get this out too, because it reflects on us. I think people sometimes don't realize that, and you can weigh in on this, podcasting to me is a long form medium. So it's not exactly going to be like rapid fire bullet points. Like Movie Talk is really good at being succinct. And I know you could say that Movie Talk is a podcast, but it's extremely structured. Schmoes Know Show is a little bit loose. So I kind of feel like people forget that it's more of a long form thing. They have more things to do and talk about. And I don't know. Why would you want Schmoes Know Show to be any shorter than it is? I mean, yeah, if you hear that it's 2 hours long, some people might say, it's a little bit long. But since, us here in Schmoeville love this stuff, we don't want to rush the Schmoes, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. I just honestly felt that this second episode was a little tighter, even though it was longer. And so they had the segments, they had exactly where they needed to go. It seemed like it was in order. I mean, I felt like it was a better episode and it was longer. And you know what? It was funnier. And I loved every single moment of it. And that section right there, I think I woke up my son for just a brief second. He was still sleeping. But when he said that towards the troll, I literally laughed out loud, literally. And I had to stop myself because my son was stirring in the other room because I was laughing so hard. But yeah, it's should never ever get to you, but sometimes they do. Sometimes the trolls will get to you, and hey, a profit will come out of this, to be honest with you. So it's a good thing that happened, and so that's my take on it.
Well, I'm actually with Arloff because just knowing my nature, I would have done the exact same thing. Yeah, like, is it right? No. Can I consciously say that I should be above calling him out? Absolutely. But like he said, I can't help but to address idiocy. I actually completely get where he's coming from, and I know I would have done the exact same thing. So I can't act like bet on you, Harloff. I would never say that.
Right.
But I do like what I like about Mark is that Mark was the one that immediately jumped in to defend the fans. And he said something along the lines of, yeah, people are just excited for us. And Harloff wasn't speaking ill towards, the good fans, I guess I should say.
Right.
But I really loved that Ellis has that viewpoint. And I can only talk highly of Ellis because he was kind enough to hang out with me on my show, and I spoke a little bit about that on yesterday. And it's probably not going to be the last time I bring it up because it was a really cool time. But he's always been, not that Christian hasn't, but Ellis has always been super nice in that way. And, they're very good to their fans. And I think that's exactly why they have the best fan base out there. And look at us. I mean, we made a podcast because we loved them that's so right. much. So okay, that's a little tangent I wanted to go on.
Hey, that's all right. All right, so to wrap up the Brett Sheridan segment of Schmoes Know, they had a bunch of fans in the chat board suggest a new movie for him to watch, and there was Man of Steel, The Room, The Departed, The Raid, and Edge of Tomorrow. And after a while, the crew said either Edge of Tomorrow or The Raid, and so that was placed on Twitter. I actually saw that poll, and I voted for Edge of Tomorrow, which ended up winning. And in fact, a little quick tangent on that, I bought the movie Edge of Tomorrow without seeing it, based on everyone's positive reviews on Movie Talk.
Oh,
and
good.
I did. I popped it into my computer and watched it, and I was like completely over the moon for it. And I did the same thing with Whiplash. I wanted to see Whiplash in theaters. Nowhere had it. There was one local theater that had it, that was just had 2 screens. It was only there for a week, and I couldn't go see it because everyone wanted to see it because it just got nominated for all these awards. And I'm like, when's it coming out on DVD? Because I still buy those. And so I'm like, where is it? So I finally got it without seeing it, and I kind of blown away by it. And I had a good stretch of that, Zero Dark 30. And so I had a big stretch of not seeing the movie in theaters, but just buying it based on everyone's reviews. And Edge of Tomorrow was one of them. That's why I picked that. And I hadn't actually seen The Raid yet, and I will. But I'm glad that Edge of Tomorrow ended up winning. And I hope to hear more adventures of Brett for Edge of Tomorrow on the next Schmoes Know Show.
I was trying to think of what this meant in my notes. I figured it out. I just had written white trash nachos. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's his movie snack. He has nachos, not nachos, nachos.
And Ellis asked if they were the white trash nachos where you just microwave cheese on top.
Microwave the cheese on top. And I will say this out loud to the universe here, the Schmoeville universe. That's what sometimes our go-to dinner is at home, because my wife comes back from work. She gets the big nacho chips and puts cheese on it, and sometimes does almost like a taco salad almost with that. And so we go a little bit above just cheese, but that is our go-to sometimes when it's late and my wife just doesn't want to cook and we don't want to go out and spend money on stuff for food. That's what we go to. So, having a name for it, I don't know if I'm going to say that around the house, but I just thought that was really funny how he called it that. So, and I related to it because I'm like, hey, we eat those. So again, Brett and I feel like, kind of got a connection going on here.
Okay, Schmoeville, we're to this point. We don't need any trolls. We're going to talk about this sort of Batman v Superman discussion. I was actually kind of expecting Stuckman to show up when they sort of hinted at the guest because, I follow all these guys on social media, and I know that Stuckman and John Flickinger came to LA together, and they were filming pretty much all day for Screen Junkies, and I think they were on Movie Fights, which I don't get to watch until Saturday, even though they do it live on Thursday. Man, Thursdays are jam-packed. But yeah, so I'm excited to watch that Movie Fight tomorrow with those guys. So yeah, I suspected Stuckman. Paul, what I want to do, they sort of, not to discount their opinions, but they sort of are kept having the conversations that I thought everyone is having about Batman v Superman. I sort of wanted to address Schmoeville with the things that I didn't think that they covered. And I want to see how you feel about them. Do you have anything to say before I do this?
No, go for it. Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. And with what the conversation was between everybody, it almost seemed like they talked for a brief moment about Batman versus Superman, then went into the same argument with Man of Steel. So,
Right.
yeah. So, what did you think?
Well, a lot of people, I mean, people are harsh on this movie, and I, myself included. We don't know what we're getting. We know what we're kind of getting with Civil War, in a way. I mean, Batman vs Superman is just such a puzzling movie. At first, I didn't even know if they could get it off the ground because I was one of those guys 3 years ago when they announced it. No way, this will never work. I mean, the tones of Superman and Batman are totally different. Obviously, they're kind of moving away from a traditional Superman, making him a little bit more dark and gritty. For one, I don't have a problem with that. I didn't respond to many. And yeah, I don't want to go into that. So, what I think people are forgetting, and I felt like some of this got brushed under the rug because the studio, it came out that they were afraid that this movie wasn't going to do well and whatever. My concern is that Zack Snyder defended that second trailer with Doomsday by saying Doomsday isn't even the end of the movie. So where the hell are they putting him? My next problem, I don't know how much this correlates, but the trailers are very confusing. They show us at times that Batman has the mecha suit. Sometimes he's wearing the traditional suit. None of it just really makes any sense because when Batman and Superman are fighting Doomsday, he's not wearing the mecha suit, which to me, and you can tell me what you think of this, Doomsday happens very early before he makes that suit. So Doomsday is the first person they fight, and then they start fighting each other. That doesn't sound right. Or there's so much of Batman and Superman being friends that Batman takes the time to stop wearing the suit, and then Doomsday comes out of nowhere, which would still put him at the end of the movie. So those are the things that I want to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, to go back on one of the other things that was mentioned, they said something about, they don't even know where Wonder Woman's going to come in. Is she going to be a big figure? Is she going to be, is she going to be a little bit in there? Is she going to be, what is she going to be? And I kind of equate her to almost like the Joker in The Dark Knight, because Christopher Nolan stated that the Joker was more of like a knife cutting through the movie. I mean, the main story was Harvey Dent and the love triangle and struggling with being Batman or whatever, and then the Joker just cut straight through the movie. And I kind of feel Wonder Woman's going to do the same thing. Well, she'll come in spurts and affect the movie one way or the other, and then at the big reveal being at the fight, whenever, to quote Shakira, to go through that way and try to be revealed that way. Hips don't lie, tell you what. So I think that's what that is. Now, when it comes to I think it was also addressed in the discussion with Batman v Superman, is the editing of the trailers were kind of all over the place. This scene was here, maybe not if it was over here. He was wearing the suit. He wasn't wearing the suit. Throwing in as they call the Jim Carrey Riddler, Lex Luthor with the "don't pick a fight with this guy." I mean, like a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing. Right. But then hearing people who have seen it saying that the standouts were Jesse Eisenberg and Ben Affleck. And then what were the two biggest criticisms when they were announced? Those two actors. Exactly. I can't believe they got the Social Network guy and they got the guy from Geely. Oh my God, whatever. And I kind of felt the same way with how everyone thought, well, not everyone, but most people thought Ben Affleck announced as Batman. I immediately, the second that happened, being a Batman fan, and you, of course, being a Batman fan too, my brother immediately called me because his favorite's Green Lantern, and he's been, kicking dirt ever since that stupid movie. But he's like, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And it was one of those, okay, I like it. I did. And he goes, "Wow, okay, I don't." But you, being a Batman fan, meaning me, he's like, I'll go with it. I kind of then, just to wrap this all up, kind of feel like it's the same thing as in sports when you're talking about the game and predicting the score and what's going to happen before the damn thing even happens. You don't know because you haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So I am holding off all opinions, and my opinion, my excitement level going in is at a 9.
There you go, Schmoevillians. You didn't ask for it, but we gave you even more of a dose of Batman v Superman discussion after last night. So for all those patient people, you're welcome. That's your reward. We go over Sasha's indie picks. I'm really glad that, and this probably won't be the last time I say this, I'm really glad they talk about indies. And this sort of, this also kind of goes with what Mance was talking about. I'm really glad they covered South by Southwest. I'm really glad that they're covering indies because, yes, we talk a lot about comic book movies in our daily routine, but I am always kind of hungry for something else. So, I mean, I'm glad that every week I can take this list that Sasha will give us. I learned a lot about it. Too Late and Everything is Copied. And those are, didn't she say that those are actually on HBO right now?
Yeah, they said that. Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad. And again, we got some more love from Midnight Special. Yeah, I'm really glad Sasha does that. And I like Sasha a lot. I'm kind of new to Schmoes Know Show more than anything. I've actually only seen a few episodes of Phase 5, I think. So I'm brand new to Schmoes Know Show. And I'm kind of learning all these people. I mean, sometimes, I see Makuga all the time on Movie Talk and stuff, and I watch Between the Sheets a little bit. But like Sasha is someone I'm brand new to, and I really think she's hilarious and she's a great companion to those guys. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, they definitely need a kind of a yin to a yang, try to either, get somebody to bounce off other things. Cause Christian and Mark are always, always together, and always having that other element in there definitely helps. And it also actually brings, sorry, I had a little issue there. So I had, it was almost like back in the AMC Movie Talk days when they had the Indie Spotlight, and they had Alicia Malone and Amy Rose Eisenbach doing the independent films. And the 4 that came up, like, again, I wouldn't have known about any one of these 4 without this. And it brings more entertainment to the forefront that maybe nobody knew in the first place. And so I really enjoyed that. And hearing Sasha state the same things that Mance had said about Midnight Special kind of reflected the same thing, with it being E.T. meets Starman. Thought that was kind of cool, which gave me a perfect indication of what that was going to be about. The Nora Ephron documentary, that was great because I know who that is, and I think that'd be cool because it was done by her son. And it's a really cool perspective. The Becoming Mike Nichols one, I know who that is too, so I think it'd be kind of cool to look into it. Documentaries are kind of a thing, that I like, and shameless plug going in with John Schnepp's Death of Superman Lives What Happened was amazing, so it was really kind of cool. And documentaries like that, looking in the industry, is something that I like. And the last thing that I heard too was from that Too Late one that made me interested, is because Sasha stated it was the Birdman treatment, and I loved Birdman. Last year was great. That was one of the other movies I saw last year, or not last year, year before that, and that was one of the best movies I'd seen in a very long time. And so that was a really cool segment, just to bring those out into the forefront, because we always hear about those popcorn flicks, the superhero flicks, the sequels, so that's kind of where I came from in that realm. So what was next on the show?
Real quick, since you brought up Schnepp,
sure.
I wanted to plug that Kickstarter real quick.
Sure.
So John Schnepp, they talked about it yesterday. They talk about it all the time. Make sure that you go to Kickstarter and help Schnepp with Sweaties Unite. I'm really excited to see how this project turns out. If you guys haven't heard about it yet, it's about the sort of rise of comic book movies and the fall of comic book stores. And he's, I follow him on Instagram too. He's going to all kinds of different cons and shops to talk about people. I think he posted that he had a 2.5-hour interview with Robert Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool.
Yes, I saw that on Movie Talk on Heroes. He did that. He was one of the guests to talk about Deadpool.
No, I meant he interviewed him for Sweaties Unite.
Oh, okay, very good then. Yeah,
ended up being like almost 3 hours.
oh,
But
the man could talk for 5 hours on one subject. I mean, he was great to hear him even on Heroes when he did that.
definitely. So yeah, go check that out. His goal is 175,000 right now. He is almost to 18,000. He's got 33 days to go. So make sure you support Schnepp. And since we were talking about documentaries, support that as well.
Sounds good.
Let's get back to okay. So Copster did the Blu-ray thing, which I think is cool. Maybe not as cool as Sasha, because I don't know. I just don't find Blu-rays interesting. I like watching special features. I would really love a show, and they don't have to do it. I'm not saying they have to do it. Just in general, I would really love a show about special features and sort of the like, what did you learn about film? That's always way more interesting because since I see.
Hold on a second. I thought this was the laser dick segment.
Oh, it was.
I know it is.
We're coming off the Wanger segment, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I heard that was that. Immediately, I saw tons of memes like that. Our Schmoeville group. I mean, we gotta tell you what, man. The second something happens, it's either a shirt or a meme. You guys are on top of things, so that's good on you on there. Really cool.
And even Brett has the one too. The I know things. I saw that immediately too.
Yeah, me too.
I saw all those even before I knew, because again, I watched the show in parts. I saw those memes before I even knew what the hell was going on. So,
oh yeah, Christian even said, "Watch, the memes are going to come," and there they are. They were there.
Do you think that's what actually prompted it? Do you think someone was actually working on the meme before Christian said it, or was it because
I have a strong feeling that they do what I do sometimes with two screens at once, a snap feature. I put the one side on the one left side, and the second it happened, somebody was probably already typing one up, putting one together as soon as it happened. So yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I forgot to mention this. Sort of going back to Harloff calling out the trolls. I've told him before on Twitter, one of my favorite things to do or to see when I'm on Twitter is Christian addressing people that just clearly don't know what they're talking about. Because he always quotes them. So I don't know if he's trying to show everyone, like, again, calling out the idiocy, but sometimes people say the most ridiculous things. And I'm someone who's really impatient, and they're not even my fans. Like, I'm really impatient about conversations that aren't even mine. So I start getting sweaty and like frustrated at people that talk to Christian. I don't know how those two handle their fans so well. Because I think somebody was even like, just an example, and I might be completely fabricating this, but an example would be if someone was like, "What are you talking about, dude? The Star Wars comics aren't even canon." And Christian's entire life is about like Star Wars and talking about canon, like it is a specific segment of their show. And I would find it very frustrating to have to constantly repeat myself. But I mean, it's in good conscience, I think, because those guys are really good. They can't expect every single one of their fans to watch their shows like right on the dot. So of course, more people won't know what Christian said on Jedi Council than people who actually do. But I know I don't have the patience for that. I don't see how they do it.
I think most of it is the fact that it is the written word. I think most of that is that realm of social media. Is you don't see them in there. You don't see them. You just read what they say. And I think a lot of times people can handle it maybe a little better because you're not seeing their facial expression. You're not seeing them face to face because you probably have a different reaction if it was told to you rather than it just being written. And so things that are written about you can easily just not read it, click off of it. And so it's one of those quick responses, moving on, and right. Quick responses, moving on. And so, and then within milliseconds, it's gone, if it's on social media. So I think that part of it is why it can be handled pretty easily, because it wasn't really addressed until after he had done that piece and probably made a shirt out of it. So, right. Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to, again, for the second week in the row, we got Ken Knapsack back for the news. Honestly, I don't get to enjoy the segment because is it Cody that runs the music?
I heard that name. Yeah, I heard a name. I heard it throughout. He didn't hit the right notes when Mark asked for the music, and I think he was kidding about that because he knows the issues happen, and they addressed that too. Is that the music now, or it was let's make sure it's not too loud this time. And what happens? It was too loud, and I couldn't hear half of what Kenny was saying.
Yeah, and it just ruins it. And I'm not shit talking. I really hope they figure it out. I mean, they obviously know it's a problem because it happened last week. I think it's kind of funny. But it happened last week, and I think even last week they ended up just shutting it off in the middle, and they shut it off in the middle again this week. I hope they figure it out because it really, again, being new to the show and so many people, including Christian, are appreciative of that segment. They love when Knapsack does that. I just haven't really got to enjoy it yet because I only really get like one. I don't mean comprehend. I mean like I only really hear one or two of the jokes. Right. Captain Iron guy, but I don't know. I hope they fix it by next week.
Right, and what I did catch was that Kenny discussed pretty much the same as what Movie Talk did earlier, and a lot of other places have broke as well. That the Indiana Jones is coming back with Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg. The same thing with the Han Solo actors. They're down to at least 3 were announced, and then the Sausage Party trailer with the South by Southwest positive buzz coming out of it. The screening room little device that they're talking about too, that I've heard lots of back and forths about, and directors and producers were either for or against it. I'm right now, I would say for me, I'd be against it because it's too expensive, but I can understand why you'd be for it. The Heat prequels in book form versus actually having the film, or potential having a prequel for the Heat, and then the X-Men Apocalypse trailer that they discussed as well. So it was actually pretty good, a week in review kind of news segment from Kenny, and I enjoyed that segment. And just that music, that's nitpicking, but if that gets fixed, I think that'd be a perfect segment. And I really enjoyed Kenny's deadpan address of the humor in there. I really like that part of it.
For sure. Schmoeville, I'm going to post this podcast into the Facebook group. Well, I mean, you can comment with any kind of suggestion or anything, but I want to hear what you all think, what your all's favorite segment is of the show, and then what segment you think maybe you didn't enjoy. Because, again, sometimes you have a different perspective, like a lot of people will appreciate Knapsack coming back for the news. This is the first time I've ever seen it. So sort of give your perspective on that kind of stuff. I want to hear from you. To them, last night, I guess Batman v Superman being the video title of their episode was the meat of it. But I think the meat of the show is always the end. So let's get to I mentioned at the top that Makuga tragically brought this new game in. I like the game. I wish they had kept score. But what was it called? Batman v Supermans?
It was bad. I thought it was Bats, B-A-T, but I think it was B-A-D, Bad Mans versus Supermans, and I think it was playing off Batman versus Superman. But again, Makuga the B and the T pronounced out loud could possibly be misconstrued. So that right there. And then
wait, did I say Batman? I said Bat. What did I say?
I don't know, because it's like that one commercial with fraud protection or frog protection. I think it was Geico or something. I can't remember the name of the commercial, but the one person thought it was fraud with a D, and the other guy was holding a frog with a G. It's the same thing with the T and the D. It's like got the same kind of pronunciation. And so if you say it too fast, I'm not sure. So I have it as Bad, like Michael Jackson's album Bad, but it could have been Bat with a T. I'm not sure. That I might have to go into the show notes. Maybe that's in the description of the Schmoes Know video. But the execution, was there. The concept was there. I think because he mentioned Josh just came up with that day. I think if a more explanation, I think the people that were participating were just like on the spot, like surprised, like what to do, instead of it being kind of explained prior. Again, I'm not critiquing. I'm not the expert. But being the game guy for education stuff, I kind of was like, oh, they should have a scorekeeper. And what happens? He just said somebody needs to keep score because they had an issue with the score. So if he was the host and they had maybe somebody not participating as the scorekeeper to keep it on track, I think that might actually help a little bit more. That's just me, but I thought it was great. I really did. The 10 questions, the having a partner, the surprise. Yeah,
I was gonna say we didn't even address. We had the outlaw John Roca come out, and that's another reason why I love all this shit talking. It feels like the WWE or something.
I just was going to say that. Yet the entrance he had out the curtain, just standing there, and it's just, I wish the camera would have panned up because his head got cut off. But it was one of those, oh my God, there he is. It was really cool and a very cool reveal.
And I love that even very early on, Mance knew that something was up and had a feeling that Roca was there. But no, like not even just last night, all of it. It feels like the WWE, and it's so great.
Well, have you seen the title belt is from the WWE that they've got for the Schmoedown.
Right. I think Roca responded to one of my tweets, like literally the second he walked out, because I was in the middle of reading what he sent me, and all of a sudden, everyone goes up in arms for Roca coming out, and it was so glorious. And I was like, "Oh shit, there he is!"
Hey, wait a second! Breaking news! Speaking of Twitter, I have a new follower on Twitter. Mr. Christian Harloff. Thank you, Christian, for following me on Twitter.
There you go.
Awesome. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
We love you, Christian.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I do. It just beeped on my iPad. No, there it is. Christian Harloff is now following you. I'm like, all right.
There you go. I got off track. Sorry, but anyway, yeah, Roca coming out was great, and I can't believe they put the title on the line. They were so quick to put the belt on the desk.
I was worried too. They were not. I mean, Roca was being very quiet in the round one, and not really chiming in as much because I think part of it was the rule. Like they had a question of, these questions were box office gross questions because it was "We've Got Money" was the name of the segment, and a lot of people were like, huh? And so they were looking at movie trivia, but this was more of box office. So I think Roca was quiet because that wasn't his wheelhouse, and so maybe that's a strategy for the Schmoedowns coming up. I'm not sure if he's strong in that area or not, but I don't know. He sure can smack talk, though. I really appreciate the banter between everybody.
I call Mance the human IMDb. Roca certainly has his strengths, and Roca has always been good at naming actors, particularly older actors. I mean, he's able to name off people that I've never even heard of, and he knew the actress who played the actress that played Penguin, the actor who played Penguin from the Adam West series, right? I mean, he was able to rattle that off. I'm like, holy shit!
I was playing along with him, and I even got the Alan Napier question about who played Alfred in the original Adam West one. I'm like, that's Alan Napier, and no one could get it. I'm like, oh, I should be on this.
So because I knew him. Why do you think Roca was being quiet during the box office portion? Because
I think it was the confusion. I can't assume because I don't know. You'd have to ask him, but I think it just wasn't his wheelhouse. I think it was that, and it was coupled with the confusion of he had assumed one of the questions it was going to be movie trivia, but this was more box office. I think that was part of it, and he just didn't know, because part of it was maybe it was the way that was Makuga was addressing the questions. I'm not sure, but I could definitely see that he wasn't comfortable with that segment of the game.
Maybe. I just feel like those box office questions, they were weren't they two, like there were only two possible answers. It was either like over or under or which movie. So he could have just guessed, but he was staying quiet. So
it looked like Riley was getting more of it than anybody.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I told Roca. Is like I saw a lot of Riley and JT, and very very little Roca. I don't know. Right. I mean, Mance didn't. It's not like we still don't really have a clue what's going to happen between Mance and Roca when it comes to the movie trivia Schmoedown. But I don't know. It was kind of underwhelming after that great performance. Roka staying silent. And again, you might have a point. It might have been strategy. It might have been confusion. But I would have liked to see him actually just kind of guess. Because I don't think during that box office game, I don't really think anyone has an actual, they don't actually know what the answer is. They're just doing a best guess type of thing. Right. So I would have liked to see Roka get more involved. When it comes to the movie trivia Schmoedown, are you team Roka or team Mance?
Well, I've known, I've known him, but I've heard of Mance before with Access Hollywood, and I'm actually on Mance's side knowledge wise. I think he might take it. And again, we don't know what the types of questions they're going to ask, so we don't know exactly. Going back there, his team actually did win the game, but it was because of the Gotham versus Metropolis second category that the actors and actresses who played this, who played that, they got those like right away. And so if it's questions like that, I feel like that Roka might take it. But if it's like years or who's this actor in this in this area, this type of like if they do like when did this movie come out, I think Mance might take it. But if it's like actors and actresses, I'm not sure. That I think Roka might take it. So I might personally be on Mance's side on this one. But showing the I think it was more JTE pulling down Mance in the game in the second round than anybody else. With the Cuba Gooding Jr. Missile crisis. That killed me. And then again, I saw the meme of Magneto stopping the missiles coming down with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s faces on the missiles with the 13 days. And I remember the 13 days movie because the second they said it, I was working at a movie theater and I grabbed that poster because my dad's a big JFK fan. So I grabbed that poster for my dad and he had it up in his basement. So I knew of that movie at that time. So when that came up, I'm like, oh, it's Cuban Missile Crisis. And I also did a presentation on that in college for a history class because that's one of my favorite eras of history. So coupled all that together, I could throw my hat in there and see what I could do against some of these guys, but I have a feeling I'd be destroyed if it was Mance. But yeah.
I can't believe that they're actually filming Campia and Merle today.
Wow.
But it doesn't air until next Friday. Just to talk about this a little bit. This is and the Twitter poll they put out, it ended up being 50-50 down the middle, which is absolutely insane. Well, you have to think maybe somebody kind of voted towards I think maybe people started pushing that, but who knows? It's so hard. I can't believe how are they going to go an entire week without revealing who actually
I was going to say that. How are they going to keep the spoiler of who won under wraps until then? I bet it's going to be pretty hard. There might have to be some sanctions, some contracts being signed not to reveal who won until then, because that's for the very first matchup. I mean, that is going to be the standard. That's going to be the measuring stick between those two, how everything's going to go from here on out. The matchups look great. They even touched upon that towards the end after they, Makuga stated, 7-3, Roka and Riley won the game. They discussed between, Christian, Riley, Roka, Mance, and JTE about the Schmoedown, how, anticipating it, how it's going to be, things like that. It's just, I like that. I like that they're going to do that. And the way that they've taken the competitive nature of this to the next level, it is WWE-esque, and that's one of my favorite things. I watch Monday Night Raw all the time. I watch all the pay-per-views. I have the WWE Network, so I just I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes and see how the craziness ensues.
For sure. I think somebody's gonna slip. I think somebody's gonna accidentally say who won. Maybe at a movie talk or something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I should give them more credit.
The only person that I've heard, or not heard, but the only person I've seen on Movie Talk that does give away spoilers on accident has been John Schnepp. And I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's involved as much as I don't even know if he's got a matchup coming up. Yeah. So I don't know if he's not, because again, I've seen a lot of times in Heroes and Star Wars, the Jedi Council and Movie Talk, that he's said a spoiler here and there, and everyone's had to go like, whoa, hold on. So I don't. That's the only person out of the group that I know that could potentially give something away, but I know how involved he is with the Schmoedown. So I kind of have faith in them that they're not gonna reveal it, because it's something that everyone's looking forward to, and something spoiled like that could kill the whole thing and people wouldn't watch. It's kind of like what SmackDown is on the WWE. It's a filmed show, and people put spoilers on the website, on all the wrestling websites, all the dirt sheets. They put the winners of the matches on that night that it happens on Tuesday, film them on Tuesday, but they put them on TV on Thursday.
Right.
And so people read who win already, and they don't watch the show. So if they reveal it now and they have somebody who slips in there and says who won, they're not going to watch the actual Schmoedown. So I feel that they're going to keep that under wraps. So I do have faith in them that they're not. So we can, kind of, guess ourselves who won.
Right. I want to go to some Facebook group posts, but real quick, who do you got between Campia and Merle? Who do you think?
Seeing Campia, knowing Campia from the Man of Steel review days, and actually watching the movie talk when Buy and Sell had a sound effect. I've known Campia for a while with his knowledge. I'm going Campia. I am going Campia. I have a feeling he will take it, but I don't think by much. I don't think it'll be a TKO rather than a knockout. So I think it'll be a good back and forth, but it'll be that last scene in Rocky 2, I think, when they both get knocked down at the same time and one just gets up before the other right at the bell. I think that's how it's going to end up.
So, like a couple of days ago, I would have agreed with you. Here's why I have switched positions. When you watched a movie talk, Campia has a lot of brain farts. Like he will reference like older movies and actually forget the title, and somebody will have to feed him what he's actually thinking about. Not that he isn't knowledgeable, but he has brain farts, like a lot. Because I find myself always like shouting at my TV trying to correct him. Not in an angry way. I love Campia. But it happens. And what I'll say about Dan Merle is, yes, he's a movie fights champion. I don't know. That determines he's tough, but so is Campia. I mean, depending on the day, Merle could fight nobodies in movie fights and just kind of obviously come away with the win because he's so good. So I don't really think that has a lot of sway. But what I will say is Merle spends a lot of time at that laptop behind the Merle cam fact-checking. And I guess Campia, but Campia hears a lot about the latest movies, and Merle hears a lot about everything, because movie fights can talk about old movies, it can talk about new movies. I think Merle is going to take it based on all of that. Do you agree or disagree with what I said?
I am going to respectfully disagree again, because I'm thinking of this. This is the last point, because before we move on to our Facebook portion of it, is that John Campia did start the very first movie podcast called The Movie Blog. And so he kind of started the whole thing. So where we are today wouldn't probably happen unless he didn't start that. If he didn't start that first podcast, I don't think we'd be here today. We might have something, but not as it is now. And seeing that he has gone from position to position, and he kind of has the same feeling I do sometimes. I don't want to like plateau anywhere I go, so I want to keep going and improving where I need to go, and get the next challenge and be challenged and attack it and be better at it. And so I think he goes from there to the AMC, and then he goes to Collider, which that portion of that was confusing because he was leaving, but then there they were red and now they're green. So they went from red to green, same crew, same everything. So more experience, more being able to, go to the interviews and go different places. And I feel his slip ups are because of when he told us his daily routine and weekly routine. I think most of the brain farts, it's because, sleep deprived, and he got sick a lot. He got sick a lot. There was a lot of times during the AMC days where he wouldn't be hosting because he was sick, because the schedule just was way too busy, and that's why he got Wendy as his assistant, because he just couldn't do it all. And I think a lot of times the reason why he forgets is because he's got so much on his plate and he just kind of forgot. And so that happens to a lot of people. So I feel that that's the reasoning why I think that, because obviously he's now focused in. He's got his new job now with the Comic-Con HQ, doing a movie show for them, having his own John Campea podcast. So a little less things on his plate, but with his book and stuff like that. So he's in so many different avenues. I just think he's, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be where we are. And I feel his knowledge is going to kind of overtake him. That's just me.
What a great conversation. I can't disagree with any of that. So I guess we'll find out next Friday who wins.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. I almost dropped my mic. All right, before we go, I want to hit on a couple of posts. Schmoeville, I'll do a better job because, like you mentioned earlier, it's so hard to get lost in this Facebook group because so many of you guys have so much to say, and that's great. But sometimes, if I had known that we were going to do Facebook posts and talk about them on the podcast, I would have been saving those a lot earlier. But since I kind of had to catch up and only did it last night, there's a ton that I missed. So now that I know to prepare for next week, I will be saving those posts and be on the lookout for some. But a couple of them did catch my eye. The one that I got here was from Andrew Harrison. No, not the former UK player. With the introduction to Brett Sheridan and the Schmoes family, it got me thinking, what is the one movie that others are shocked you haven't seen? So, Paul, I want to ask you, what's a movie that people are shocked you haven't seen?
Oh, wow. I've really seen, gosh, what would be one that I haven't seen? I'm going to go 12 Angry Men. Okay. I haven't seen that one yet. I know about the play. I know about how good the movie is. That I think I'd have to say that one. That one's not as well known as, let's say, I haven't seen Inception yet or something like that, but I have.
I was about to throw my coffee mug if you.
No, I saw that. It took me 2 viewings because I saw it late, but then I saw it late again. I saw half of it one night, half of it the other, and totally got it and whatever. But I'd have to say 12 Angry Men would be the one that just popped into my head.
You're gonna probably shit your pants when I tell you which movies I haven't seen. There's 2 that I have not seen that really scream at me right now. The first one being Blade Runner.
Okay. I've seen it, but it was a long time ago. I haven't revisited it yet, but I have seen that at least. Yeah.
But I will say, to defend myself, I got the 30th anniversary Blu-ray set that includes the theatrical cut, director's cut, and final cut. So I've got all of that. So I just need the time, and I will definitely get on that. The other one is Scarface.
Yeah. Okay. No. Honestly, I mean, I'm not criticizing that at all. I mean, if you haven't seen it, maybe it's just not something you want to see. I mean, I actually ended up seeing it kind of late in the game, and like 2002, 2003 is when I first saw it, because I always had a student in my classroom always call himself Tony Montana. I'm like, who is this Tony Montana you're talking about? And he's like, Scarface. I'm like, oh, that movie that movie. I haven't seen that yet. So I actually went and saw it that night and talked about it with that student the next day, and kind of had a rapport with him, and kind of got buddy with him, and he actually improved in his education because he and I had a commonality there. But yeah, that one. Okay, I mean, with your interests, with your likes and dislikes, I can kind of see it. I can see it.
Well, I don't think it really has anything to do with like or dislike in this situation. I have seen it in passing. Like, I feel like I've seen a couple of scenes, but I've never sat down and watched it. And to make people even angrier, I've owned that movie on Blu-ray for years. Like, I used to work at Blockbuster, and that was one of the movies I took home with me from that closing, and I have yet to pop it in the player. So, yeah, feel free to give me shit because I probably deserve it. Next up from, and I might mispronounce names. It won't be the first time or the last time. Well, I guess it will be the first time. Julianne Laytona asks, basically, what people think of trailer reactions. You know, everybody's doing those lately, including the Schmoes. In all caps, they ask why. What's the appeal to them? What do you guys think? Do you love them or hate them? Essentially, is what the post comes down to. I mentioned this before we started recording. I myself don't like. I wouldn't watch any particular reaction video. And that's, I mean, sometimes it depends. Schmoes do a pretty good job about, you know, talking about what they're seeing. I don't care for them because I've seen some YouTubers just literally make a trailer reaction video where their face is just like stagnant the whole time, and they'll have the thing run in the corner, and you can't even see it, and it turns out to be a nothing video, a complete waste of time. Not that the Schmoes do that. I guess trailer reactions just don't really do anything for me because they sort of already talk about trailers already on Movie Talk, and again, you can talk about what I mentioned before. There are some fans that don't watch every single thing, so it's not a lot of repeat, or it's not always about repeat business. But they just don't do anything for me. On my YouTube channel, if you go to Film Beef's YouTube channel, yes, I do trailer reactions. It's kind of a business decision because they really help build yourself, and because I'm not doing anything else on the channel, so that's pretty much the only way I can talk about movies. So I definitely understand the reason why people do them. I myself just don't get anything out of any of it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, look, I'm looking up in the dictionary where you say you don't like them, but you do them anyway. Oh, that's under hypocrite. Oh,
wow. Oh yeah. Huge hypocrite.
I'm gonna give the best answer possible. Hey, more Mark, more Christian, keep doing them. I like them. I do, because that then sees, you know, because in the past people have said, you know, if you have a critic that you like, you're gonna kind of see what they say, and sometimes it reflects what you think. And I like disagreeing and agreeing with what they think too, because, you know, how many times do you go to a movie and you're hearing people sitting next to you or in front of you after the trailer's done, they're like, that looks good, or we're gonna go see that. So yeah. It's kind of the same thing, only just two people sitting there reviewing it. I mean, and going back to how many there was like some type of explosion these last 8 days. I mean, you had Cloverfield Lane, Brothers Grimsby, Captain America Civil War, Sausage Party, Ben-Hur, Now You See Me 2, Central Intelligence, X-Men Apocalypse, Tarzan, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I mean, there was so much. That's a lot of stuff to put on the channel. And so if people watch them, I mean, obviously you guys know that if you like them, and you watch them, they'll keep doing them. If you don't like them, you've seen in the past with a lot of the recap shows, if you don't like them, the views are low, they're going to eliminate them. So I like them, and I enjoy their reactions to see, I thought that too, or no, I don't like that too, because it's all about the movies, and it's all about, you know, reacting to it and talking about it and bringing up if you did like it or disagreed or didn't agree. So I fully like them. They're short little clips. And I do like to see them when they're reviewed.
Thank you for saying that, because I think you made a really good point without even knowing it. So to cover my tracks a little bit, again, I totally get why they do it. They're building their channel, and it helps them out tremendously. I'm just kind of speaking towards, I'm not really that demographic. But a point that you brought up, I never would have even known of the existence of the Miss Peregrine's trailer without their reaction. So there's a pro, and that's something that I will say, is that, you know, I'm subscribed to these channels, so I know when they put out the trailer reactions. Am I going to always watch the ones where they discuss like Captain America? No, because I'll probably cover that on Movie Talk. But when I see that title that I don't, I'm not familiar with, then that's the trailer reaction that I will watch. And I did watch the Miss Peregrine. So there you go. Maybe I feel a little bit better about what I'm saying.
And I like that too, because it does bring out more people to be more aware of these movies. Like, I knew about a lot of them. I knew about Sausage Party from weeks, months, years ago, talking about it on Movie Talk. Ben-Hur talking about it, and finally it's like, it's here. Let's all watch it together. So we're all kind of watching it together. And then the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, I cheated almost, because I knew about the book already, and I knew that Tim Burton was directing it because I really enjoyed Big Fish. And that was a Tim Burton movie that he adapted from a book as well. And this kind of has the same feel to it. It also has the same kind of feel as an X-Men movie without it being an X-Men movie at the same time. And so all of that kind of coupled together, I knew about it. I'm like, oh, the trailer's out. So I went and saw it. And so, because I had known about it all from past experiences, and just it kind of brings us all together with, oh, here it is.
Yeah, definitely. I have bad news, Paul.
Uh-oh.
I have to get ready to go to work.
Oh, man.
So we have to wrap up Schmoeville very abruptly. And I'm so sorry. But I do want to announce something that they touched on Movie Talk. Starting on Monday on the Collider Video channel, they are starting TV Talk. And not only are they going to be talking about TV, you got Josh McCougal. Yeah, McCougal. Josh McCouga will be there. David Griffin will also be a part of that. But we're going to welcome back Sinead DeFries, finally.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
if you are a TV fan, start watching TV Talk. Because they said, right now it's going to be weekly on Mondays. But, if the fans demand it, the fans demand it. And they'll do more. So make sure that you're watching that come Monday. Do you have any other announcements that you can think of before we shut it down?
I don't. I do have a suggestion for if somebody is listening, particularly a director of development. I thought of this. Why not music talk? Just letting it sit there and let it simmer. You're doing TV. Why not do entertainment? Let's move it into music. Because you guys were talking about the scores of movies. Why not do music talk? New music releases and things like that. Just, again, putting it out there, dropping the mic. That's it for me. Back to you.
Collider doesn't cover music, though. Like the .com, I mean. So I don't know. I think that's a lot to ask. And plus, but I mean, I feel like we just get a ton of classic rock from Ellis.
Yeah, that's true.
And everybody would just be like, "Come on, shut up." It's but anyway, so there's episode 1 of Schmoeville in the books. I feel like we did mainly what we set out to do. That does not mean that even throughout this entire episode, we're kind of thinking about what we need to sort of wrestle with. What do we need to take away? What do we need to add? So guys, we are constantly working on this show because we're doing it for you. We don't take it lightly that we're sort of representing Schmoeville with this podcast. So I'm going to post this episode. You're going to hear it. And I want to hear what you guys think about the latest episode. Because, we're only here for you. So please let us know. You can also... Okay, well, that's a different thing. But anyway, let me know. Let me know what you think of this episode in the comment section or whatever. You can also hit us up on Twitter. So, Paul, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Mr. Wulff, spelled M-R, and then Wolf, W-U-L-F-F. So, the Mr. Wulff.
And you can find me on Twitter at Film Beef Snell, and you can find me on the Film Beef movie review / discussion podcast. Tonight I'm going to see Allegiant, which Christian was not a big fan of, but I'm going to go see that, and I think I'm actually going to have to see it by myself, which makes the experience a whole lot worse. But me and Phil are going to be reviewing that on the Film Beef podcast. You can find that on iTunes, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. There will be Film Beef. With that said, thanks everybody for listening. We greatly appreciate it. I had a ton of fun, Paul.
As did I. That was a good time. I really like what we did, and I'm looking forward to hearing some feedback. So thank you for having me, and thank you guys, Schmoeville, for listening.
See you, Schmoeville.